Recorded live from Robert's room here in. Oh my god, it's so smoky in here. Oh my gosh. Let's go ahead and just go ahead and turn that off there for a little bit there. All right, here we go. Welcome back here to Rob's Arcade. I'm your host, Mr. Rob French, doing a little different set here. I own a couple of different properties around Los Santos, and this is one I don't really come to a lot. It's kind of like my little escape. I'll sometimes, here in this virtual world, I have a 9 to 5. I'll do my bit, do my thing, head back to my nice place in the hills, change into something a little dark, a little sinister. Then I come back here and I raid that dirty fridge for some old beer and Chinese food. And then around sunset, I sneak out into the streets and find some unsuspecting victim or two and do some nasty deeds. And then I come back here and change back into my normal clothes. And I head back to my house in the hills and take a shower, drink some coffee, read Newsweek, and then try to pretend like nothing ever happened. Go about my business. Is that a poltergeist in the corner? Look, you see that? There's like no light source over there. It's just like you see it? Am I tripping? All right. Anyway, welcome back to Rob's Arcade. That was a weird path we just went down, but hey, what's a little weird without Rob's Arcade? No, what's a little Rob's Arcade without some weird? There we go. That's what I was trying to say. Anyway, guys, welcome back to the show. We're going to lay some things out here. This might even be a two-part show because we got a lot to run through. We're kind of wrapping up this month of August, and I love to kind of touch base with you guys and kind of hang out and, kind of give you updates, if you will, just a little bit of like what's going on in my world, what's happening. And there's been quite a bit happening in my world here lately. Work, everything like that is going good. The teen programs that I've been kind of worried about with all of the work and stuff have kicked off. I've talked to them, and actually, from what I'm hearing, the teen club is starting off really good this year, and one of my leaders said that the first get together actually went way better than he anticipated. So that was really good news to hear. And then on my front, my end, everything seems to be going really well. With my like I said, my new position, just kind of getting my new schedule and all of that kind of set, and just finally really starting to kind of get a new groove down here recently, if you will, and kind of settling in. Oh, look at that, as I just kind of settled into the couch there. Just kind of settling in a little bit more, and getting that rhythm not only with like my counterpart, but also just my staff. Like I said, that's something that's pretty new to me, but it's something I'm like really looking forward to. It's really interesting. Just real quick, a little side note that just kind of popped into my head just now as we're kind of talking about this. When I first stepped into the role of like working with the teens and working with the youth, my whole thing was just trying to get them in the building, try to get them seen and more recognized. And I did accomplish that goal. Like that was something that I set out to do, and it was something that I was able to do. It was something I got done. My second goal, as I went through the next year, and we kind of, we wrapped up that first year and we started up the new one, was like, set some new goals. We've got them in the building. That's good. We want to continue that stride. We want to continue that groove. We want to continue that whole feeling of, this teen group, this teen club having like their home base, if you will, inside this facility. I read a lot of comics. I read comics on a weekly basis. I have for the last 30 years. I love science fiction. I love superhero shows. People are like, "Hey man, have you seen this show about whatever record making in Atlanta or something? Or have you seen this show? It's about like stuff like Orange is the New Black and um, Breaking Bad. These are awesome award-winning shows. Just don't have any interest. It's like, I'm like, are there superheroes? Does anybody get superpowers? Does anybody turn into a vampire? No? Okay, I don't really want to. So, um, I'm sorry, I'm just looking at this new guy here that I have in my home. And did I completely lose my train of thought just now? Yes, I'm sorry. I got so distracted. I was talking about what, TV shows or something? Oh my God. I read a lot of comic books, watch a lot of TV shows, science fiction, superhero stuff like that. There we go. I found it. Yay. So, in my head, like the facility I work in is like this giant government building that nobody knows about. It's an off-site facility, black ops, only the highest ranked military, secret special ops, and Avengers know about this place. And we all train there, we all meet there, everybody has offices, and there's this young group of superhero teens that meet once a week for their leaders club, and they assemble in the lobby of the whatever. So it's kind of like, I've always seen it as like this big building, and they have a little spot in there. It's like the Justice League and Teen Titans and the Avengers over there on that side, and everybody kind of hangs out and what. And that's sounds a little silly, but I wanted to keep that flow. I wanted to keep that momentum going, and like kind of keep these guys present and in the building. Going forward, geez, my next piece to that was trying to then get them employed. Like they're seen, they're there. It's almost kind of like an internship type of a situation, if you will. And then like, how do we take that, volunteering and being present in the building to now, like, let's get you a job, let's get you something that you can actually get paid for, and put to use the skills that you've been learning while under my care, man. So it's interesting that I now get to have a staff because part of this next goal of mine, and I've actually got some, which is really interesting. Some of my teens that are looking to get jobs, and a couple of them have. Like I will say that not as many as I would like, but there are a few that were, are, and continue to be employed through the YMCA. And some of that's due to my, I don't want to say like advice or guidance, but definitely, I've helped to, you know, help that along, for sure, and getting them, what they need in order to acquire a job. But now I have the staff, and it's kind of interesting because it's a chance to put now in motion some of the goals and ideas I had of like, well, how do you handle staff and all of that? And even yesterday, like having a conversation with one of my staff who just was like, young mom looking to get more hours, and it's one of those things like, hey, look, I want to do that, but I want to make sure you are comfortable and strong enough as an employee to take on more hours. I want to make sure you got all the skill sets to close. I want to make sure you got all the skill sets to open and you're comfortable. So there were a lot of coaching moments yesterday, and it was kind of a long day. I got a nice little break in between, but um, yesterday was a great example of just like, some one-on-one time and kind of explaining certain things like, hey, look, I know today is slow, and um, you know, checking your phone and things like that, and texting your boyfriend or whatever, I'm not going to get upset about. There's nobody in the building. There's like 6 cars in the parking lot. But hey, do me a favor, other people in the building, when it's busy, we got other employees you're working with. Let's try to set that tone. Let's try to like set that, what does it look like to be at the front desk? And I was like, I'm not going to be. Don't act like you got to hide it from me too. Or like, oh shoot, he caught. I'm not. I don't care. It's not a big deal. I'm chill. Just do me that. Just to be a solid and just not while others are in the building. And then after that, I went through and I was like, all right, this is how we close. This is what we do. This is how we lock the doors. This is how we turn off this. This is how we turn off that. And it was really nice. It was really cool. It was a really cool day. And I just feel like work's going really solid, just in all aspects, not just with having staff, but then some of my supervisors have been just like super awesome. And it's just been a really good workflow. Um, I do a lot of talk on my YouTube page from time to time about like Monday motivations and like what does all that look like. And typically I'm off on Monday, so Monday's typically a day not to be motivated and just kind of chill and get some stuff done, get some laundry, motivated to get that laundry done for the next week. But typically, like my Mondays are pretty chill, and it's like Tuesdays. The Tuesday I got to get back into the work grind and get ready to buckle in, buckle up, and I just got a text here from a goofball on duty. Um, but Tuesday, man, it was rough. I don't know what it was. I just didn't really feel like going in. I think we all have those Mondays where it's just like, God, I don't know. I just want one more day off. It's just not enough time off sometimes. And it really was like that typical Monday vibe on a Tuesday. And so I had to, like I said, really pump myself up to get going. And the thing I have to remind myself is like, all right, dude, this was even true at my last job, even when I worked at the restaurant. Like, sometimes I feel like there's just not enough coffee to get you motivated. There's just not enough, sunshine in the day. And like literally for me, sometimes it's just getting to work, the interactions with people, talking with people, hanging out, hearing somebody's story, and then that vibe with somebody that really gets me, I don't know, juiced up, if you will. And it sounds so cheesy and cliche. And sometimes I want to punch myself for saying it, like, but it's so true. Like, if I remember the restaurant, like, I just come in, like, a cup and a, excuse me, like a cup and a half of coffee in, beautiful sky, nice music, just jamming out, cruising to work, and I'm still just not having that vibe. And then all of a sudden, that one sweet old lady comes in and orders a couple slices of pizza and a Pepsi or something, and just tells me about her weekend. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, oh man, let's get this day going. Let's do this. Let's rock this out. And so work now can be very much like that. And so it was very much like just trying to um, remind myself that I'm going to have a good day. If I get out there, I'm going to have a good day. And a lot of times it's like one of those things where I have to remind myself to be there for other people. Like a lot of what I do is community work and working with youth and all of that kind of stuff. And I really have to remind myself that, like, even if I don't want to be there, somebody's going to need me there today. Um, Somebody's going to be happy to see me, and I don't want to mess that up. That was a lot of times with like working with the teens. Like, I really wouldn't have anything but one thing to do, and it might just be that that meeting or that get together with them or something. And it was that idea that like if I'm not there, like yeah, so and so can kind of handle it and da 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 da. But if I'm not there, man, it's just I need to be there. I need to be there for them. And so Tuesday was very much like that this past week, and just trying to get motivated, trying to get up, get the day started. And once I got to work, I did have a good day, and it really was like nothing on my plate, just a bunch of meetings, a couple of full-time meetings. But even like the one of my supervisors that I was kind of looking forward to meeting wasn't there that day. So it was kind of like, man, I really could have like taken this day off. And I remember like the day was wrapping up, and I was kind of like wondering, like, do I want to like wrap up and get out of here, or even maybe a little bit early? Like, I don't know. Um, but I hung out, you know, and I want to say it was about 3 o'clock or so. I was just, talking with a coworker, my counterpart, and I noticed something off in the distance as we were kind of like talking. We're just kind of like looking out the front window, just kind of, greeting people as they came in, and I noticed this like white and brown furry guy like running across the parking lot, and it's so interesting. Like when I thought about this later, I was like, "Is this how this happened? Is this really how this went down?" Um, and I kind of had to like wait till the next morning to get some clarification from my counterpart. Um, but I remember being like distracted as my coworker was talking to me, and I put my hand up almost like hold that thought. I didn't say anything, and they're like, hold on, wait 1 second. I just put my hand up like almost to say stop, and just slowly started to walk outside. And he was so confused, and it was one of those things like it really is. I'm compelled in my life from time to time to do things, and I don't know why. And it's just like there's something else guiding me. Something else grabs the wheel and steers me in that direction. It's kind of one of those things that happened this time. Like something else was just kind of like, hop in the back seat, Rob, for a second. Spider-Man's taking the front seat here, and I just started to walk outside, and this little guy's like walking across the parking lot, not towards us, if you will, but like across like a black cat across the path. And like I said, we see him out in the distance, or I do rather. And as I step outside, and there's people out in the parking lot where there's people like delivering equipment, and there's people coming in and out, and he's not really focused on any of them. Nobody's looking at him. He's not looking at them. He's just walking through the parking lot. Nobody's stopping. He's not stopping to look at anybody. But as soon as I walked out of our front double doors, he stopped, looked to his right. I looked at him. He looked at me and immediately just started running up. Cue the love ballad. Love lift us up where we belong. Cue the slow mo. Bum 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 bum. Bum 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 bum. Now add that like hazy mist around the edges of the screen. His tongue flapping in the wind, slow motion. Cut to me, my tongue flapping out the other side of my mouth in slow motion. And he ran right up into me. He's a beautiful, beautiful pit bull. And I couldn't tell what kind of dog he was as he was like walking up. But as he was walking up, I was like, "Oh my God, you're a pit bull. Just how street are you?" And he literally just ran up and like melted in my arms. Um, sweetest, sweetest boy I've ever met in my life. I uh, I had to kind of hold on to him for a moment while we were outside because he kept trying to get inside the building. It's like, well, we can't have you inside there, buddy. But the poor guy just looked so exhausted, so thin. He's a good sized dog, but I mean, his stomach is so small. It's like the size of my thigh, maybe. And he was clearly no tag, choke collar, out on the street, and just not living his best life, not in the best conditions at all. And it's my heart broke. Um, I couldn't bring myself to call like the animal control or somebody to come pick him up, simply just because of just like the condition he was in. And not to say that like some SPCA or something wouldn't take amazing care of an animal, but I'm just like, oh gosh, you need some love. You need some hardcore love, like not just
some attention, and you need around the clock attention, around the clock care, around the clock love. You need a home right now. This isn't like let's put you in like I mean let's it's doggy jail. I mean like I know it's like a but I mean like they put them in cages and crates, and they're just it's some of them you know. Um, I would imagine it's just as traumatizing being locked up in a cage and all of this as it is being out on the streets and being alone. But anyway, my heart just went out to him, and so I did take him to the vet at some point to see if he was chipped, and if he we could find out who he belonged to. Um, but in the meantime, my some of my coworkers were there, and somebody brought out like their little Tupperware dish that they had been using, and cleaned it out, put some water in it for him, and then another coworker actually went and got him some food and gave him a little food and let him get some food and some water for a little bit. And then finally, I just asked my boss. I was like, "Can I get out of here? Like, let me take this guy, see if I can't, figure out who he belongs to or what have you." And so I actually took him to my supervisor's vet, and they could definitely say like, "Yeah, he's missed quite a few meals, and he definitely looks underweight." Um, but outside of that, I mean, very happy, very good with people, very good with children. I've taken a few walks, and he's interacted with a few kids already. But long story short, after finding out that this guy wasn't chipped, I did decide to bring him home. I feel bad. It was literally like a message to my mom and my uncle, like, "Hey, I found this thing, bringing it home. Heads up." And uh, got him home, got him some more meals, got him a nice bath. And I think we've been together now. This is like day 6 or so, and he's just been the sweetest thing, the sweetest boy that I've ever come across. Um, he scarfs his food down like there's no tomorrow, for sure. But he is the most gentle thing when it comes to taking snacks, and he even sits like if I break out the dog biscuits after a walk, and you know, um, he sees that I've got a couple treats. He will sit down. He gently will pluck them from my hands, and haven't had any accidents. His stomach was really upset the first few days. I basically spent the first couple of nights with him, like going out every couple of hours, every hour. Um, and I'm like, there's no way he's got to take another poop. Like this guy's pooped 7 times today. And I mean, this the poor guy just had to run something fierce. Um, Not to go too much into detail or be too graphic, but everything's looking healthier, I guess, if you will, after a few days of some nice solid food and um, some regular meals. And don't, I can't imagine. I've had a couple of thoughts popping through my head, and I guess I'll kind of wrap up with these. And I'm going to do a couple parts because I got a lot to talk about. There's been just a whole lot of stuff going on, and I still got more to talk about with this guy here. But um, one of the first things that popped into my head as we were kind of settling into our first night after he'd had his bath and we were watching TV together and stuff, and finally lay down and went to sleep, was that like I couldn't help but think about like where his other nights had been. Like this guy, it's summer, it's hot, it's been rainy, and I kept thinking like, where do you sleep? Where do you lay down? Where do you get your food? Does the thunder scare you? Does lightning scare? It's just my mind started to race. I think just thinking about what his life has been like out there on the streets, and it broke my heart. It still does. Um, it was like the first couple of nights is all I could think about, and I'm finally getting to a point where it's like I'm not thinking about it as much, but it does creep into my brain every so often. It genuinely rips my heart apart just thinking about this poor guy. And being out there on the street, being out there alone, and just not having anybody, uh, and to go from that to coming into a home, getting that attention, some food, some snacks, fresh water, a nice bath, and then a nice like putting blankets out down for him everywhere, and we're dog people, so he's had a bath. You can get on the couch. You've had a bath. You can get in my bed. I don't care. He did not get in my bed or anything like that before the bath. I don't love him that much. He was not disgusting. I've washed dogs that I've had in my possession that were dirtier. It's like, oh God, that was like like hot cocoa running off of him, so muddy and dirty. He wasn't like that, but still. But I just can't imagine what it must feel like. It must be just being like, imagine being like homeless and not having like living in a car, and all of a sudden somebody's like, here, got you this 5-star hotel room for the week, and some brand new fresh clothes and a new iPhone. Got some fresh meals coming up to your room, so um, just can't imagine what that must feel like. Um, I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna pause right there. We're gonna jump in, pause right there, and finish up this next thought that I've been having here in just a moment. But I do want to thank you guys for hanging out and tuning in right now. Um, Please feel free to share, like, subscribe, all that jazz. I'm gonna take a quick break, quick, like I said, just refresh my coffee kind of thing. Hang tight, don't go too far, and I will come back with that second thought of like just what's been going on with this new aminal in my life and all of that. Oh, I named him Tucker, the pit bull is Tucker the pit. Um, so I'm going to jump back into more about what's just going on with Tucker and what's just been going around in the house and work and all of that jazz. So don't go anywhere. Like, share, subscribe, leave a comment down below. Take care of yourself. Take care of each other. Until next time, you guys, please do not spend that quarter anywhere else. See you soon.